Good evening. I'd like to call the July 2nd City Council meeting to order. Call on Ward 4, Chuck Crabtree for the invocation.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening reverently. We just ask that you give us the wisdom and guidance and to do the things in the best interest of the city and the people for the city. We pray for your wisdom and guidance, just to look over us and guide us in your direction. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. I call on the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Francis.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Councilmember Marsh.
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Here.
Councilmember Craig. Here. Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Wilcox. Councilmember Meek.
Here.
Councilmember Lineberger.
Here.
Councilmember Keel.
Here.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Handy.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
All righty. We'll move into awards and recognitions. We'll start out with Hopkinsville Fire Department. Chief Future, will you come forward? All right, we'll do the police department first. You slacking. Oh, man. You come to the front, please. And I call on Michael Atkins to come to the front, please, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to introduce, captain is not a rank that a lot of people achieve throughout their law enforcement career. It's a hard rank to get to, and but I am honored and I'm proud to announce the newest member of the Hopkinsville Police Department command staff, Captain Michael Atkins.
Right. All right. I, as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and of the United States of America, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully perform to the best of my ability and duties of police captain for the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and that will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So help me God. All righty. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. So he's got your paper right there.
Oh, yep. Take that with you and I'll get you to sign it. Thank you. All right, Mayor, we have two more promotions. So I'd like to call up Sergeant Michael Feltz and Sergeant Dendrick Holmes.
All righty. Police sergeants. Thank you. Raise your hand, please. Right hand, please. I state your name. As citizen of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and of the United States of America, do solemnly swear that will faithfully perform to the best of my abilities and duties of police sergeant for the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and that will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So help me God. All righty.
Gentlemen about face, and I think they have family members that want to come pin them.
Yes.
Family members, come on up.
Don't don't you stand, man. Y'all turn around here and get a picture with them here, right here.
Mayor, last but not least, I'm going to call up Officer Michael Farrell and Officer Robert Stuckey. So Officer Stuckey and Farrell were dispatched to a residence where an armed citizen was inside going through a mental health crisis. When the officers entered the residence, they observed the subject standing at the end of a hallway holding the firearm and encouraging the officers to come closer. Both officers immediately recognized the subject was attempting a suicide by cop. Recognizing the situation, both officers stood their ground and began to create a dialogue with the citizen. After patiently communicating with the citizen and gaining his trust, they were able to get him to give up his weapon and ensured he received psychological help. Because of their bravery while facing an armed subject and peacefully ending what could have been a fatal situation, Officer Stuckey and Farrell are hereby awarded the Medal of Valor.
I'd like to call on Chief Futrell now to come to the front.
Good evening. Tonight we have 3 firefighters that are being pinned to the rank of firefighter who's going to join our ranks. First up, we have Drake Runyon. Step forward. Drake is an advanced EMT, and he is being pinned tonight by his wife, Abigail. Next, we have Caitlin West. Caitlin West is a firefighter and critical care paramedic. She is being pinned by her battalion chief, Chief Wood. And then Jacob Beach. Jacob Beach is being pinned by his wife, Kayla, and is actually a legacy firefighter. His father is retired Command Staff Officer Troy Beach.
All right, if everyone would raise their right hand, please. I state your names. As a citizen of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and of the United States of America, do solemnly swear that it will faithfully perform to the best of their abilities the duties of firefighter for the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and will support, protect, and preserve life and property of all the citizens of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, so help me God.
And please turn around for your pinning.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
righty, we are at public comment.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. All righty. Moving into item 6, we will be moving into public comments here in just a minute. I know.
What's cool is to see so many firefighters and policemen that come in. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there was that many people when I got promoted. Wait.
All righty, item 6 on the agenda is public comments. If anybody in the public would like to come to the podium, please state their name and address and speak to the council. Anyone like to speak? All righty, we're moving into mayor's comments. Item 7, I'll be short. I'd like to say congratulations to Elvis Williams for 30 years of Public Works. We'd like to say thank you for all your hard work and dedication from here at the mayor's office and City Hall and Public Works on behalf of the city. Congratulations to Mike Perry for the Community Development Leadership Award that he received. Thank you. The water park attendance is up. Thank you to all our hard work and everybody doing their jobs. Like for everybody to remember July 4th, Red, White, and Ooh fireworks show at Ruff Park. And July 12th, Hoptown Throwdown at Founders Square. July 13th, Christmas in July at Crafts and Vendors Fair at the Sportsplex. Check out the community calendar for all the other things going on in the city on the webpage during that. And I have a correction to make. During June 18th city council meeting, it was reported that Challenge House received $2,500 in donation. That should have said $1,500 for the AT&T program on that. Now we'll move into item 8, officers and committees and guest speakers. And I'd like to call on Melissa Clayton to give us a little update on Pardue Park and help us all understand what's going on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so I'll just try to start at the beginning. There's a lot to Pardue Lane Park, so that's not my first slide. This project is being funded by multiple sources. So, yep, it should be the one with the bubbles on it. Nope. Uh-oh. Okay, so he doesn't have my first few slides. That's all right. The project is being funded by multiple sources. So the first one is the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The second one is a Rails to Trails program grant. And then the third funding source is the American Rescue Plan funds. So from the land, it looks like this, but y'all can't see it. I'll send y'all the full presentation. For the Land and Water Conservation Fund, what is being built with that is the pavilions and the playground. So the playground and the pavilions are going to be funded by the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The trails and the sidewalks will be funded by the RTP grant. And then the parking lot, the basketball court, lights, amenities, landscaping, everything else is we have slotted to be funded by the ARPA funds. So there's a lot of multiple sources has made the project more complicated to get everything together. So really sad, Daryl. So what are we waiting for? Why haven't we started? This slide that I have has a quote on it from the funding source for the RTP grant, and I'm just going to read it to y'all since y'all don't have it since y'all don't have it in front of you. It says, "Please note your application has received preliminary approval. You may not incur any cost except for certain costs related to planning and design services to be reimbursed with RTP funds until you have received environmental clearance, FHWA funding authorization, and entered into a grant agreement. Any costs incurred or obligations made prior to receiving a fully executed copy of the grant agreement are at your own risk." So those are the instructions we received on the RTP grant. So we're not allowed to incur any costs until we have all of those documents from the state and everything is in line. So let me see which one you have first. Oh my gosh, you're missing. Y'all are missing like 6 slides, so I'm sorry. So I'm just going to start in the fall. I really started in the fall on my slides too of what we've been doing on all of this project. So we had to make a change in design. When the grants were originally applied for, it was applied for just a regular playground. After some discussions with different people in the community, it was decided that we wanted to try to make this playground ADA accessible. And so because of that, we had to go through a design change. That means you pretty much are starting back over with your getting your approvals from the state. So we started last fall when all the grants came upstairs. We started planning for the changes. We started communicating with the state of what they needed. We were told that the RTP, if we had everything to them by the 1st of April, then we would be ready to break ground, and they would give us all of our approvals. So we followed up with them in November and December, and we got approval on the Land and Water Conservation Fund to move forward with everything. And then in February 23rd, we submitted everything we were working with a lady named Jessica Hill at the state. And she, as long as we had the bid documents, the plans, all the checklists, everything that she required to her by April, we would be ready to start. On February 23rd, we sent her everything that she was requesting. So we were ready. We sent her everything, and we were early. We got done early. We got all the approvals, and we sent her the checklist, the designs back from the engineer, and all of that. So around the 19th of March, because she had told us to submit everything by April, we reached out to them to make sure she had everything that she needed because we had not heard back from her. So upon reaching out to them on March 19th, we received, Stacy sent the following email. So the state did not contact us. I'm going somewhere. Stacy sent the following email. "I'm reaching out to you regarding the City of Hopkinsville's Recreational Trails Program grant." She sent this to Travis Weber, she got a bounce back when she sent an email to Jessica about what the delay was that said to reach out to our new contact. So she sent him this email. "I submitted information to Jessica in February regarding the LPA documents and necessary bid documents for the project. At that time, I received an out-of-office email reply which said to contact you in case of an emergency. I followed up with her yesterday regarding the receipt of said required documents. However, I got on the DLG website and no longer see her listed under staff. As such, I'm reaching out to you to see if you received the information I sent or if I need to resend it. Jessica said she would need the RTP documents by April, so I wanted to ensure whoever needs them has them." So we got a reply back from him on that email that pretty much told us she had passed away. And the state, like I said, did not notify us. He asked us on March 19th to resend the documents, which we did the same day. We sent them to our new contact, Travis Weber. So Stacy pretty much had done the research ahead of time. She had to find out on our own that the lady we were working with had passed away. So I don't know if they didn't notify anybody or what. So now I'm finally to this slide. Travis Weber asked us to resubmit the information, which we did. From that time on, March 19th, we began emailing him every 10 days or so, just for status updates. So we're constantly trying to find out what's going on. Are we still getting the grant? You know, is there something else you need from us? So every 10 days, April 12th, April 25th, May 6th, May 12th, May 21st. Stacy got no response, okay? All these emails we're sending, nobody answered her back. Finally, on May 22nd, I sent an email and I said, we need to know what's going on. I need some kind of a response from you. So you can go to the next slide and the next one. Finally, on May 22nd, you'll see at the top of that slide, he said, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. We're working to address as many outstanding projects due to our unfortunate situation. In regards to your project, I still have not been able to locate the documents you had sent to Jessica Hill in February. Could you please provide a copy of the LPA checklist documents to us again? So we sent them again. Keep in mind, this is the third time, okay? And the second time we've sent them to this man, right? So he now has our documents again, May 22nd. And Stacy, after that, emailed him again. Travis, can you please confirm receipt of the documents we sent you yesterday? He didn't respond. June 3rd, we sent another message. Just, Travis, can you please provide an update and confirmation of the receipt documents that I sent? He still didn't respond to her. Oh, yeah, he did. Sorry. On June 3rd, he finally responded back and he says, I apologize. I believe that we have these items, but we have not had time to go through them yet. We are still in the process of sorting through all of these. And finally, on June 21st, so we were like, okay, he needs more time. We're going to give him more time. So we gave him a couple weeks. On June 21st last week, I sent for an email, asked for a status update, and he told me on the 21st that they are still reviewing the documents. So on June 21st, we had a rather lengthy email conversation. I didn't print all of that out for you, but I pretty much said, I need to know if our grant, if we're still going to get this money. I need an answer, you know. It's been 3 months. I'm sorry about their situation, but we need to know. We need to move on with our project. So he finally, I'm going to read you his last email. We were back and forth a lot that day, and he did call me on the phone. We had a phone conversation, but I wanted his answer in writing. So his final response to me on the 21st of June said, Melissa, I do not see any reason why the project or the grant is in jeopardy at all at this point. Having not worked this process before, it's hard for me to give you a timeline, but we are finishing up the documents to go back to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and get the environmental clearance that we need. So they're still working on it. I hope that helps. Please let me know if you still have additional questions. So basically, I think we just want you guys to know that we have not just let this project has not just fallen by the wayside. We are doing everything that we can to push things forward. But due to the constraints that we have on the grant, we are pretty much in between a rock and a hard place. So what's next? Our options. I'm going to give you guys 3 options, and then I'll tell you which one I think we should do. Our first option is that we can go back to the engineers and we can split this project in 2. We can bid out everything for the Land and Water Conservation Grant that we have in the ARPA funds. We can put that in one bid out process, and then we can bid the trails separately after they get everything worked out at the state. It will be about a 3-month delay to go back to the engineer, split the bid packets up. We have to resend all the documents to the Land and Water Grant and get their approval to bid it out separately and all of that. So that's one option. Our second option is we just say, you know what, we don't want this $100,000. We reject this grant. We figure out a different way to pay for it. We still go back, redesign, move forward with the other grant and the ARPA funds and figure out the financing for the trails on our own without doing the trail grant. Our option 3 is we continue to wait for the state to get the RTP grant figured out, and we still accept the $100,000 and we move forward from there. But that is pretty much our options and what we have, what's been going on behind the scenes with Pardue Lane Park and why we have not started yet. So I'd be happy to answer questions, or if
And
you guys want to.
Melissa, before you do that, when you wrote to the state and asked them about their situation, will you tell this council what that situation is? It's a 35-year-old woman who died with
Yeah.
2 children, and she had breast cancer.
Yeah.
That's the situation.
It's the situation. She did not have a backup. She did not have anybody that was doing her job. The state pretty much has to start all over with having somebody go through this process for the first time. I mean, Travis Weber did say this, it's hard for him to give a timeline because he's never gone through this process before. So I can't give you guys a timeline. I can't tell you when he's going to give us approval. I just can't. He can't tell me, and I can't tell you. So, yeah, she passed away very unexpectedly, and that caused them a lot of issues.
Any questions for Melissa?
I do.
Yes,
Mayor.
ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. You said back in March 19th, can you hear me?
Yep.
Back in March 19th, when he asked you to resend it. Being that this is the first time I'm hearing about this, I don't know about anybody else. Wouldn't that been probably around the end of March to let us know that there was going to be an issue?
I think when Stacy came and did her grant update, she talked about it a little bit, that our representative had passed away.
She did?
Yeah.
Okay, but not in detail?
No.
Okay, all right. Because now we're having to make a decision on either 3 of those?
I mean, I'm happy to bring you guys updates as often as you would like.
Okay. You said you're going to send us the paper, send us an email?
I'll send you the full presentation because you didn't have access to it tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Steve?
So basically, the grant that's holding us up is a $100,000 grant.
Yes.
So our option would be, just we kind of went through those kind of quick.
Sorry.
I understand. We have most of the grant money. We have the ARPA funds. So it's just a matter of, do we have somewhere we can pull the $100,000 to make the difference up? If we do that, how fast is this going to expedite the timeline? And maybe that might be a Mike Perry question. I don't know.
It might.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If we reject the grant, I'm not sure what the process is on that, but I think we just go back and we tell them, we already have the MOA on the Land and Water Conservation Grant. As long as we're not changing the bid packets and we're still going to bid the whole thing out together, I think that the timeline, I'm not sure exactly how long it will take us, but it would be faster than waiting for a response from RTP.
Yes, Jamie?
I have a question. Is there any drawback to waiting for the grant, the $100,000 grant? I understand that office is very shook. A 35-year-old woman passed away unexpectedly. My heart goes out to them. However, is there any drawback just waiting rather than scraping money from somewhere and taking it from something else?
I don't do construction and all that, but I would think that if we wait longer into the fall and it starts getting winter, it's the pouring of the concrete and all that. I'm not sure how much of that can happen in the winter time. So we're delaying the opening of the park. The longer we wait, I'm not sure, we still have to bid it out, and, it's a whole process, but.
Okay, on that, we were hoping to break ground in April so we could start moving forward. So we'd get a lot of the dirt work and concrete and stuff done before winter got here and fall and winter got here. But we are still trying to move forward with that as quickly as possible. But right now, we don't know when we're going to get this $100,000. So Steve,
What I was going to suggest, I don't know if everybody else here can say yes or no. We've got this information. You're going to kick it out to us on an email and kind of go through it. If you could also maybe put kind of what those options are, we can just go ahead and add it to the committee of the whole, and we can actually have a discussion about it then. So we're not doing it now. We're a couple weeks out. That way, if anybody has any questions on funding sources we can get those answered beforehand, and maybe we can make a more educated decision here in about 2 weeks. I mean, is everybody good with that?
Is that a motion?
I don't know if I have to even make a motion for it, really, do I, Doug? I can just, hey, Brittany, add it to the business list. There you go.
Travis?
Do we have any idea what the total, like a guesstimate of what this is gonna cost?
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on whether we do concrete trails or we do asphalt trails, but I brought the estimates with me.
This is just for the trails stuff,
This
not
is,
the exclusive.
we
part.
have not bid it out. This is the whole project, okay? So
Okay.
this is very rough, and it could be higher than this, it could be lower than this. Because we've been adding like 10% to it every year from the original cost. Anyway, I have the asphalt trail estimate, total construction cost, $1,166,611.86. And the concrete trails is $1,680,931.86.
So we're talking less than 10% is what's holding this up, really?
Yes.
Okay. We've also got a third party involved as well that has $100,000 that we've had for a long time. So that's another issue too. So.
It is. And, you know, if they want it back until we get closer, we're happy to write them their $100,000 back.
I'm kind of coming to the table a little bit late on this. How long has this park been in planning?
I believe 2021.
2021, yeah. I was thinking it
Yeah.
was, since ARPA funds were available, so it was post-COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
During-
I
You
think
know,
the RTP grant is a 2021 grant that we received notice of in 2022. I think it was April 2022. We got the official notice of award letter.
Mhm.
And I think Mayor Lynch signed that notice at the time.
I see.
And I'd love to have it checked off my checklist saying it's done so we can move forward on it. But
Yeah, sure.
Steve, you're wanting to move this to the committee of the whole on the 19th, I believe is what that day is.
I mean, I think that would be the way to go. That way we can, if we want to go ahead and fund it
Right,
ourselves
we
on
can
that
figure
one
out-
grant, we can figure it out then. And Don, I can tell you with Steve Bourne, I guess, probably back in 2020, I walked it with him and saw the initial plan then. I mean, this is something that's been going on a long time, that the ARPA funds, I know Amy and Chuck and several of us on that future funding committee, that's what kind of put it over the top, was those ARPA funds.
Yeah.
And I know the funds that I know Travis is talking about, I mean, those are dedicated just to the ADA playground. It's what those will be going towards. So there's a lot of folks had a lot of time in this. I know.
Right.
It's just right there on Pardue Lane. I was really hoping to
Right
see
there in
it
your
already
ward, yeah.
there. I've got a lot of folks live over there that want it.
Its
So
location seems strategic for the density of the population that it would be
Yes.
serving, or a
Very.
little underserved in that area, so.
well, it's not underserved or whatever. When we were going through it, Don, we did population rings, and Chuck and Amy, y'all were in there. We got those. It's been so long ago, I can't remember. I want to say it was something like a third or better of the rooftops were within like a mile and a half or so. I mean, it was a pretty big number. It affects a lot of folks. When we were in the planning stages years ago, a lot
Amy?
of folks reaching out on that.
Amy, what
I
you
was
got?
just going to say that, going back to what Steve was saying, this dates back even before then, because when the dog park, I don't know when does anybody know when the dog park was put in? Anyway, it's been a long time, but when the dog park was put in and the trail right there, this was always part of the plan to have a park there. But going back to Melissa's questions with these three options, I actually agree with Steve. I think that with your emails, give us a few snippets of basically pros and cons, so we
Okay.
can kind of think through this logically on what is the best solution.
Happy to do that.
Having no timeline is obviously frustrating.
It's frustrating for me
Yeah.
too, believe me.
Yeah.
I am at my wit's end. I'm open to suggestions. If you guys have something else that I can do that I haven't done, please let me know. I'm doing everything that I know to do. So,
Well, thank you for all your work on this. There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
On behalf of Melissa's staff, and me and Stacy talk, and Melissa talk every week about grants and this always comes to the top, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting. And I understand why we're waiting, because the young lady was very unfortunate death, but we also got to give our public a answer too. And that's where we're at.
Have we reached out to the state reps before? I mean, I sent an email Monday. I know Steve has contacted them as well. Have we reached out asking for help?
I have not reached out to the state
I
reps.
have.
We send them a report as they requested of our grants and our needs at the state.
Yes.
Well, if somebody's been involved in this thing, not as long as Amy apparently, but since 20, just trying to get it done. I know I'm frustrated it hadn't been built though, but I appreciate the work y'all are putting in behind the scenes. I know little folks get a little flared up when other people's money's involved as well, but I don't know anything else we could ask from you or Stacy to get this thing to happen. So I just appreciate you and your staff, and especially your staff, that's someone's having to sit there on hold and send the emails all the time and listen to all of us complain. So I just let them know how much we appreciate that, or at least how much I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Any more questions for Melissa before she, Bruce?
Going back to what she was saying, when the dog park was originally brought about, I was very heavily involved in that. And actually, in 2015 is when we started raising funds. And at that point in time, there was a conceptual drawing of everything that was going to go in at that time. And it was, was going to just be put in stages as it comes along. So it's something I think's been put on the back burner, and it's something that, that enhances the rail trail, and we need to take a look at it and get it going one way or another.
We can get it on the 19th on the committee of the whole, so we can get some decisions made and move it forward. Okay? All right. Anything else from Melissa, or any more comments? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. All righty, I move to item number 9, approval of minutes.
So move.
Second.
Got Steve and Don. All righty. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We get to go into item 10 for Miss Brittany. Ordinances, ordinance 18-2024, Shadowood rezoning, estate zoning, excuse me, second.
Amending the zoning maps of the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Zone properties located in Shadowood Estates. Whereas Community and Development Services initiated a zoning map amendment by Resolution 2024-02 to assign the original zoning designation of R1 Single Family Residential District to properties including rights-of-ways and easements located in Shadowood Estates. And whereas Community and Development Services made favorable recommendation at their May 20th, 2024 meeting for City Council to approve original zoning application R24-5-1. And whereas City Council concurs said recommendation is in agreement with the Hopkinsville Christian County Comprehensive Plan, and significant physical, social, and economic changes have occurred warranting the zoning of the properties. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, pursuant to KRS 100.211, Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances, Community and Development Services Resolution 2024-02, and recommendation dated May 20th, 2024, the properties listed on Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein, and as further described on Exhibit B attached hereto and incorporated herein, are hereby zoned R1 Single Family Residential District. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
So moved.
Second.
Got Amy and Jamie. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Handy,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on second reading.
All righty. Item B, ordinance 19-2024, AT-1 Ag Transition District Zoning. Text amendment.
An ordinance creating a new section in Chapter 158 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances pertaining to the zoning code. Whereas Community and Development Services initiated a zoning text amendment to Chapter 158 to add a new section to create the AT1 Agricultural Transitional District and establish standards for the district. And whereas Community and Development Services made favorable recommendation at their May 20th, 2024 meeting. And whereas on June 18th, 2024, Community and Development Services made a formal recommendation for City Council to adopt the proposed amendment. And whereas City Council concurs, said recommendation is in agreement with the Hopkinsville Christian County Comprehensive Plan. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that Section 158.053 be added to Chapter 158 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances to read as follows. 158.053, AT1 Agricultural Transitional District. A statement of purpose. The intent of this district is to promote the continued use of the property for agricultural purposes while providing the opportunity for lower intensity or larger lot residential and non-residential development. This district may include larger tracts at the periphery of the city or newly annexed property where development trends are unknown and are not fully established. These tracts are provided municipal services and development trends become apparent. Lands within this district may transition through a map amendment to one or more of the chapter's base zoning districts or special zoning districts when in keeping with the requirements of KRS 100 in this chapter. B, permitted uses. 1, all uses permitted by the right in R2 district are permitted by right in the AT1 district. And 2, all agricultural uses as defined in KRS 100.111(2) are permitted by right subject to any other requirements otherwise imposed by the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky Code of Ordinances. C, conditional uses. 1, excluding 0 lot line developments, all uses permitted as a conditional use in the R2 district are permitted as a conditional use in the AT1 district. 2, all uses permitted by right or as a conditional use in the B1 and P1 districts are permitted as a conditional use in the AT1 district, excluding those permitted by subsections B and C1 above. D, prohibited uses. Any use which is not permitted by the provisions of subsection B or C above or is not otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law is prohibited in the AT1 district. E, standards. 1, building site area. Each lot shall have an area not less than the following. A, single-family detached, 1 acre per dwelling unit. B, two-family duplex, 1 acre per dwelling unit, 2 acres total. C, multifamily, 30,000 square feet per dwelling unit. And D, agricultural and all other use, 5 acres. 2, building site width. The minimum site width at the building setback line shall be as follows. A, single-family detached and two-family duplexes, 100 feet. B, multifamily, 120 feet. C, agricultural uses, no minimum. And D, all other uses, 200 feet. 3, building site coverage. The total lot coverage for all buildings on the site shall not exceed 20% of the lot area. 4, building height limit. Excluding agricultural uses, the maximum building height shall not exceed 35 feet. For buildings devoted to an agricultural use, non-residential, the maximum height shall not exceed 60 feet. 5, setback requirements. The minimum requirements for yards shall be as follows. A, single-family detached and two-family duplexes. 1, front yard 40 feet, 2, rear yard 20 feet, and 3, side yard 15 feet. B, multifamily, 1 front yard 40 feet, 2, rear yard 25 feet, and 3, side yard 20 feet. C, agricultural uses. 1, front yard 40 feet, 2, rear yard 20 feet, plus 2 feet for every 5 feet above 35 feet in structure height, and 3, side yard 15 feet, plus 2 feet for every 5 feet above 35 feet in structure height. D, all other uses. 1, front yard 100 feet, 2, rear yard 40 feet, and 3, side yard 30 feet. F, general requirements. 1, signs. Notwithstanding the provisions of 158.175 et sec, signs and outdoor advertising displays, the following standards shall apply. A, freestanding signs on lots devoted to a single-family or two-family duplex use are prohibited. B, for multifamily, agricultural, and all other uses, no freestanding sign shall exceed 50 square feet in area. No freestanding sign shall exceed 25 feet in height. C, no more than 1 freestanding sign is permitted per lot. D, for single-family and two-family duplex uses, a sign attached to the wall or facade of a building shall not exceed 4 square feet in area for multifamily, agricultural, and all other uses. A wall sign shall not exceed 10% of the facade or wall to which the sign is attached. Any all other provisions of 158.175 et sec not in conflict with parts A, B, C, and D of the subsection remain unaffected and are applicable to the placement of a sign in the AT1 district. 2, buffering screening. In addition to the landscaping requirements imposed by the buffering and landscaping provisions of this chapter, any multifamily or non-residential structure, parking space or lot or loading area hereafter placed within 100 feet of a single-family or two-family dwelling shall require the owner of a multifamily or non-residential use to provide screening. Screening shall be placed within the rear or side yard abutting the adjoining lot's single-family or two-family duplex use. Screening shall consist of a fence, wall, earthen mound, or hedge of at least 6 feet in height with a minimum opacity of 80%. For plantings, this height and opacity shall be achieved within 2 years of planting. 3, one principal building per lot. Only one principal per building and its customary accessory structures are permitted per lot for any non-agricultural use. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
Need a motion? Don,
Second.
Jason Boone. Any discussion on that long reading? Seeing none, I call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Meek.
Yes.
Councilmember Lineberger.
Yes.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes.
Councilmember Bell.
Yes.
Councilmember Handy.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh.
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilmember Craig.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
That does pass on first reading.
All righty. Get a drink? Okay. Ordinance 2024 on the Ag Transition District Text Amendment.
An ordinance creating a new section in Chapter 158 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances pertaining to the zoning code. Whereas Community and Development Services initiated a zoning text amendment to Chapter 158 to add a new section to create the AT2 Agricultural Transitional District, enhance and establish standards for the district. And whereas Community and Development Services made a favorable recommendation at their May 20th, 2024 meeting. And whereas on June 18th, 2024, Community and Development Services made a formal recommendation for City Council to adopt the proposed amendment. And whereas City Council concurs, said recommendation is in agreement with the Hopkinsville Christian County Comprehensive Plan. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that Section 158.054 be added to Chapter 158 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances to read as follows. 158.054 AT2 Agricultural Transitional District enhanced. A statement of purpose. The intent of this district is to promote the continued use of property for agricultural purposes while providing the opportunity for lower intensity residential and non-residential development, including limited industrial development as a conditional use where adjacent to or contiguous to an existing industrial zoning district. This district may include larger tracts at the periphery of the city or newly annexed property where development trends are unknown and are not fully established. These tracts are provided municipal services and development trends become apparent. Lands within this district may transition through a map amendment to one or more of the chapter's base zoning districts or special zoning districts when in keeping with the requirements of KRS 100 in this chapter. B, permitted uses. When all uses permitted by the right in R2 district are permitted by right in the AT2 district. 2, all agricultural uses as defined by KRS 100.111(2) are permitted by right subject to any other requirements otherwise imposed by the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky Code of Ordinances. C, conditional uses. 1, excluding 0 lot line developments, all use permitted as conditional use in the R2 district are permitted as conditional use in the AT2 district. All uses permitted by right as a conditional use in the B1 and P1 districts are permitted as a conditional use in the AT2 district, excluding those uses permitted by subsection B above. And 3, all uses permitted by right in the I1 and I2 districts are permitted as a conditional use in the AT2 district, excluding those permitted by subsections B, C1, and C2 above. D, prohibited uses. Any use which is not permitted by the provisions of subsection B or C above or is not otherwise expressly permitted the applicable law is prohibited in the AT2 district. E, standards. 1, building site area. Each lot shall have an area not less than the following. A, single-family detached, 1 acre lot per dwelling. B, two-family duplex, 1 acre per dwelling unit, 2 acres total. C, multifamily, 30,000 square feet per dwelling unit. And D, agriculture and all other uses, 5 acres. 2, building site width. The minimum site width at the building setback line shall be as follows. A, single-family detached and two-family duplexes, 100 feet. B, multifamily, 120 feet. C, agricultural uses, no minimum, and D, all other uses, 200 feet. 3, building site coverage. The total lot coverage for all buildings on site shall not exceed 20% of the lot area. 4, building height limit excluding agricultural uses. The maximum building height shall not exceed 35 feet. For buildings devoted to an agricultural use, non-residential, the maximum height shall not exceed 60 feet. 5, setback requirements. The minimum requirements for yards shall be as follows. A, single-family detached and two-family duplexes. 1, front yard 40 feet, 2, rear yard 20 feet, and 3, side yard 15 feet. B, multifamily, 1 front yard 40 feet, 2 rear yard 25 feet, and 3 side yard 20 feet. C, agricultural uses, front yard 40 feet, 2 rear yard 20 feet, plus 2 feet for every 5 feet above 35 feet in structure height, and 3 side yard, 15 feet plus 2 feet for every 5 feet above 35 feet in structure height. And D, all other uses, 1 front yard 100 feet, 2 front yard 40 feet, and 3 side yard 30 feet. F, general requirements. 1, signs, notwithstanding the provisions of 158.175 et sec, signs and outdoor advertising displays, the following standards shall apply. A, freestanding signs on lots devoted to a single-family or two-family residential duplex use are prohibited. B, for multifamily, agricultural, and all other uses, no freestanding sign shall exceed 50 square feet in area. No freestanding sign shall exceed 25 feet in height. C, no more than 1 freestanding sign is permitted per lot. D, for single-family and two-family duplex uses, a sign attached to the wall or facade of a building shall not exceed 4 square feet in area. For multifamily, agricultural, and all other uses, a wall sign shall not exceed 10% of the facade or wall to which the sign is attached. And E, all the provisions of 158.175 et sec, not in conflict with parts A, B, C, and D of the subsection, remain unaffected or applicable to the placement of the sign in the AT2 district. 2, buffering screening. In addition to the landscaping requirements imposed by the buffering and landscaping provisions of this chapter, any multifamily or non-residential structure, parking space or lot or loading area hereafter placed within 100 feet of a single family or two-family dwelling should require the owner of the multifamily or non-residential use to provide screening. Screening shall be placed within the rear side yard abutting the adjoining lot's single-family or two-family duplex use. Screening shall consist of a fence, wall, earthen mound, or hedge of at least 6 feet in height with a minimum opacity of 80%. For plantings, this height and opacity shall be achieved within 2 years of planting. 3, 1 principal building per lot. Only 1 principal building and its customary accessory structures are permitted per lot for non-agricultural use. G, special standards for industrial and other uses permitted in the I-1 and I-2 districts. In addition to the requirements imposed by this section in 158.110 through 158.118, and any use permitted as a conditional use under the provisions of subsection C3 shall be subject to the following standards. 1, location restriction. The use must be located on a lot which abuts an I-1 or I-2 district boundary. 2, setback from certain occupancies. No portion of the use, including any structures, parking lot, or other disturbed areas, shall be located closer than 500 feet from any residential dwelling or quasi-public use. 3, industrial use standards apply. In addition to the standards of this section, permitted uses are subject to the standards of 158.068E. Section 2 of any section, subsection, sentence, clause of this phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid. Such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
All right, need a motion?
Ocean.
Jamie and Matthew. All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Handy,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
That passes on first reading.
All righty. Good to go. Okay. Item D, ordinance 21-2024, amended bond sales, first reading summary.
An ordinance of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, amending and supplementing ordinance number 15/2024 of the city to A, increase the authorized aggregate principal amount of the general obligation bond series 2024A, authorize thereby. B, authorize an additional public project to be financed with the proceeds of the general obligation bond series 2024A, authorize thereby. And C, authorize related actions. Summary, the amending ordinance amends and supplements an ordinance of the city previously adopted on June 4th, 2024. The prior ordinance entitled An ordinance of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of its general obligation bond series 2024A in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $6 million, which principal amount may be increased by up to $600,000 or decreased by any amount to finance the cost of the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of one, renovations to convert an existing office building into a new training center and 24-hour fire station, and two, an apparatus bay with 3 truck bays and support spaces for the new fire station. Approving the form of the bonds, authorizing the designated officers of the city to execute and deliver the bonds, authorizing and directing the filing of a notice with the state local debt officer, providing for the payment of and security for the bonds, establishing a bond payment fund for the bonds, affirming the maintenance of the city's existing sinking fund, authorizing the acceptance of the bid of the purchaser for the bonds, and repealing inconsistent ordinances. 2, the prior ordinance authorized the issuance of the city of up to $6 million City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky General Obligation Bond Series 2024A, an approximate aggregate principal amount of $6 million, A, to finance all or of a portion of the cost of to acquire, construct, equip, and install 1, renovations to convert an existing office building into a new training center and a 24-hour fire station for the Hopkinsville Fire Department, and 2, an apparatus bay with 3 truck bays and support spaces for the new fire station. All of the well-being and benefit of the citizens of the city, collectively the original project. B, to pay capitalized interest on the bonds if desirable. C, to pay all or a portion of the cost of credit enhancement for the bonds, if any, and D, to pay all or a portion of the cost of issuance on the bonds. 3, the amending ordinance authorizes 1, to increase of the authorized aggregate principal amount of the bonds from $6 million to $8 million as a result of the additional use of the proceeds of the bonds to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of an industrial building, the monies related to which will be granted by the city to a prospective employer planning to locate a large manufacturing facility within the city, the additional project, and together with the original, the project.
All righty. Need a motion?
Second.
Bruce and Amy. All righty. Any discussion?
I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
Can someone please explain in a little more detail what we're doing here? I know, but I want to hear.
Melissa?
So the additional bond money that we're requesting in this amending bond ordinance will be used for an economic development proposal. Doug will have that grant agreement and the amount of the grant at the next city council meeting. The bonds, we can sell any amount until the day they're sold. So if you guys approve this tonight and you don't decide not to do the economic development proposal until the bonds are sold, we can change the amount. So this is just increasing the amount if we decide to bond it. What this does is it allows us to sell all of the bonds, the fire station bonds and the economic development proposal bonds at the same time, which saves the city money on the closing costs. So we're selling them all at once instead of closing on the fire station bonds and then coming back in a couple months and closing on the economic development bonds. This is increasing the amount so we can close one time and save the city money.
So we're, in effect, we're basically selling bond. We're putting the mechanism in place to sell what we need for both projects, even though we may do one or we may do both.
Right.
And so anything we do on the bonds won't have an impact on what we do later on if we go through this economic development.
Right. If you approve the economic development grant next week or in 2 weeks, then we'll be ready to sell the bonds at that time. But if you don't approve the grant, we don't have to sell the bonds. So this is just, this requires 2 ordinances, 2 readings of the ordinance. I think the grant agreement only requires 1. So this will be on this meeting and the next meeting. So if you,
Just for clarification, the grant agreement may not be on the next council meeting. We're still in that process. And it will be brought back just as soon as possible, as soon as we're ready. This does not bind you to that grant agreement. You still, this only is effective if you approve that project.
Right.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Just to be sure, I recall you sent an email out in great detail over what you just said. I know you said it saves some money. If I recall, doing it this way is gonna save the city at least 90,000 or so dollars. Is
It's
that
an
correct?
approximate
In
number.
that ballpark?
It's the
I
closing.
know you don't like,
It
I
saves
know you
us
don't
the
like
closing.
ballparks. but-
I don't, and I gave you a ballpark in my email, but yes, it will save the city a significant amount in closing costs if we do it this way and we sell the bonds all at one time.
Did the city, or did the people in the city, did they get your email?
They did not.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? All righty. Now we'll move in to vote on this.
Councilmember,
Go ahead.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Handy.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis. Councilmember Francis.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh.
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilmember Craig.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on first reading.
All right. Item 11, municipal orders. Municipal Order A, 20-24 street renaming policy.
Hopkinsville City Council hereby adopts the attached street renaming policy.
Okay. That, need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Amy and, which one?
Discussion.
Matthew. All righty. We have a discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Aye. How are you today?
Doing good.
Good, good. Okay. I was trying to work with you guys on a couple of things. Well, really, it's just one thing. I wanted to put in a motion to change the character from 14 to 16. On our previous sign changing, name changing we did, it was 18. I think 14 is kind of low. So in case some names are a little bit longer. So I'm putting in a motion to change the characters from 14 to 16.
So you're making a motion to change it from 14 to 16, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jamie?
I've got a question for
I
Mike
think-
Perry or Dave Herndon.
Yes.
Yes.
How many letters can you fit on a sign comfortably? I may have should have put Josh on the hot seat. He hadn't been there yet. You the street guy now.
Bear with me here. So let's assume that you've got a 36-inch sign. We use 6-inch big letters. I'm sorry, you guys caught me off guard. So about 2-inch wide letters, let's say, to make it legible. I mean, 16's tight. I mean, and I'm being honest, but we can have anything custom made, but it's a legibility issue. That's kind of where we're, because if you, for example, if you go out to Reverend
Timberlake.
Pastor Timberlake's, I mean, it's a 36-inch sign, but the letters are pretty small, and I had them tweak certain things. It's a custom made sign. I mean, it's not something we do in house. So, I mean, it's just a little extra expense. So.
Mr. Hearn, did you say that was 16 characters? Is that a 16 character sign?
The Reverend Timberlake sign?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, no. It's
18.
it's
18, I think.
somebody refresh my memory.
And
Pastor.
It's 18.
I was
It's
going to
18.
say,
But you're saying that's custom made.
Yeah.
So
that's a
what
custom-
you're saying,
that's
I
a
mean,
custom sign.
y'all threw out 14 because the guys that do the work every day know about what you can fit on a sign?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay. All righty. We have a motion and a second to change to this. We need to vote on that first. All those in favor of Mr. Francis's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Let's do a roll call.
Councilmember Meek,
No.
Councilmember Lineberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
No.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Handy.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley,
No.
Councilmember Marsh,
Abstain.
Councilmember Crabtree,
No.
Councilmember Craig,
No.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
That it does not pass.
Does not pass. All righty, we go back to the original motion.
I just had a question, not,
Yes, sir, go
not
ahead.
to make any motions or nothing. Just want to ask Troy, you and I had a conversation, I don't know, a few days after we had this, and about what all this street renaming really entails. I know Mike kind of went into it, but you and I spoke about possibly doing, kind of like we do on some of you see on highways and stuff like that, doing in honor or an additional sign, but not actually renaming the street. Because, I mean, when we did Bill Flynn Boulevard, I mean, I'm not going to cut, a lot of businesses, those kind of things. I'm wondering if there's a mechanism that we can achieve what we're looking for, which is to honor someone, but not affect every resident or every business on that road. You can drive down the interstate all the time, see Heroes Highway, Purple Heart Highway. There's sections named for fallen law officers out there, those kind of things. If what we're truly doing is trying to honor someone, do we need to change everything that's been going on for 40 years plus on that road? Or can we just put something up that section is in honor? I would almost like to see that go into this. I mean, we can do what everybody wants to do on this one, but, and I will use a case in fact, the short shoot right there that I call it of 20th Street. Everybody knows where the Yellow House is. That area originally was Trice Lane. And at some point, the city renamed it 20th Street. So a resident that lives over there actually contacted me about renaming it back to Trice Lane. And I said, a lot of stuff goes into it, but if we had a better mechanism, would you be happy if we put in memory or in honor or something like that? And they were all in on that because it's a whole lot less work for everybody. Whole lot less work. I don't know. CDS is involved, Public Works, all of this. We're getting to the same place. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out. I think it would be getting the same result for a lot less work and a lot less confusion.
Yes, sir. Mike and I'll discuss that. It's just secondary street naming. You do get the absolute same effect and you don't change the name of the street. Most people wouldn't even know. You'd have the same, and particularly in larger cities like in New York, because they have so many streets, they do that. It's standard practice. And that's something that we can absolutely discuss at Public Works.
Okay. Any more discussion? All righty, we have a motion and a second on the floor on the street renaming policy. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Meek, Councilmember Lineberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Handy.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley,
No.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass as amended.
Righty. Now, we move into item 12, other. And we have any other business we'd like to speak about tonight?
Would Councilmember Keel, if you wouldn't, I would be glad to do it. Maybe introduce a motion to pass along to Council of the Whole to study the idea of a secondary naming policy or.
Mike, you throw that together for the next meeting, and I tell you what, let us know when you got it thrown together, holler at Brittany, copy me, we're good to go.
Sounds like an excellent idea.
All right, sound like a good idea to me.
Mhm.
Miss Jamie Lambert.
I'd like to make a motion to bring back the small business spotlight to council meeting agendas. We did that in the past. The small business committee is out and about. We have a lot of great small businesses in Hopkinsville. And I just think that we should spotlight them. We say that we support local and we want to shop local. We need to let the citizens know what's local. So I'd like to have a motion to bring back the small business spotlight to the council agenda.
All right. We'll look into that and take care of that, see what we can do for you. Okay? Any other comments from council? All right, and then we'll go into council member comments.
I'm sorry. I've got one I just want to bring to your attention. In front of you, you've got the HRC annual report. So in your leisure, if you want to look through that, and then if you have questions, reach out to Rachel or Jada, and they'd be happy to answer those questions for you.
Thank you.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Mayor. As you know, and you've heard, we had a blooming good time on June 22nd with our block event called Bloom Up Bryan Street. Through generous donations, sweat equity, genuine love for community, myself, and a few other dedicated citizens made a difference. Extreme gratitude goes out to Michael and Alice. Michael was there on the sidewalk at 7:45 when I pulled up to start working. His wife supplied cold water to us and kept us working. Michael assembled garden planters with me, along with his wife. Betty Catlett and Linda Wood helped assemble some raised garden beds. Betty Catlett supplied us with lunch, and Alice and Betty and Linda just sat around and talked about life in Hopkinsville and things like that. And along the way, people asked us if we were selling plants. We said no. They were kind of sad. Every resident on the street knew we were coming because I'd sent out flyers and talked to everybody. Some were glad to see us. Some didn't care that we were there. And a couple ladies came and helped at the 11th hour, but that's all right. Mrs. Francis stopped by and showed her support. She was on her way from one meeting to the next, but she showed her support, and I certainly appreciate that. Ardell Owen came to the event just in time for Michael to pull out the drill and say, hey, we've got a better way to put beds together. So Ardell put 2 beds together with the use of a power drill. But we all had a great time, and I'm thankful to the caring people who showed up and showed out. Their compassion for a small portion of the city made a difference. Yeah. Some people think that one voice doesn't matter, or that one person can't make a difference. And everybody needs to know on your street, in your ward, in your city, that there is one person that cares. And the one person that cares makes a difference. And damn it, be the people that care. Be the good people. And I just want to say thank you to the volunteers that showed up. And the tally for the day, I mowed 6 yards and I edged them. We had 15 bags of trash picked up. We had 50 bags of soil and 25 planters and over 100 plants. And Jennifer wrote an article about it. But I would just like to say thank you. As a councilwoman for Ward 9, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Amen.
On that note, do we have any more council comments? I'll turn it back over to Chuck in for adjournment.
Independence Day, also known as the 4th of July, is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the Declaration of Independence, which was ratified by the Second Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776, establishing the United States of America. We have a birthday to celebrate of our country on Thursday, 248 years. So with that, motion to adjourn.
Have a motion, a second, by Travis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.